Okay, so we're going to be looking at vector masks and vector shapes, and the pen tool and the curvature tool. So these are all vector tools that help us with doing stuff in Photoshop. And what I really want to illustrate to you here is why we have these vector tools in Photoshop and how useful they can be for our compositions. So here I've just got a photograph. And I want to make it into an iPhone advert. So I'm going to place embedded and choose the phone. And I'm just going to zoom out a bit and then hold down Alt and just make that bigger. And just drag it so that it's more or less centered in the middle of there. And press Enter. So we've learned a lot of selection techniques up till now. But when it comes to very straight, clean edges and curves, often the selection tools that we have available to us that we've learned are not going to do a perfect job. And this is a perfect candidate for the pen tool or the other vector shape tools, which give us very clean, hard edges for selecting. And that's often used for deep etching. So deep etching refers to the process of lifting a product out of the background so that you can put it into an advert or something like that. So those sort of macro catalogs that you get with bicycles and toasters and things like that, those photos have all been deep etched before they've been laid out there. So we're going to deep etch this phone. So instead of us selecting with the selection tools or creating a layer mask to do non-destructive editing, we're actually going to do it using a vector mask. So I'm going to go to Layer, Vector Mask, Reveal All. So remember, white reveals, black hides. So this is a white vector mask at the moment, which means everything is showing. So I'm going to take my rectangle tool and I'm going to make sure that I'm on Combine Shapes and on Path. And then I'm going to draw a path, a rectangle at least. And you can see that it is, because it's on Combine, what's inside that rectangle is showing. But because it's vector, I can now go and edit it as a vector shape. So I'm going to switch to my direct selection tool and I'm going to drag over the top 2 points, and I'm just going to use my arrow keys to move them down to match the phone. And then I'm going to drag the bottom 2 points and move those up, and then the left 2 points and move those in to match the phone, and the right 2, same thing. Now I can go to my path selection tool, make sure that path is selected, and then over here in my properties panel for my vector shape I have my corner options. They're all linked together automatically, so I'm just going to drag on one of these corner icons to give me a rounded corner. Okay, so that's giving me an absolutely perfect edge there, which is exactly what I want for this. And now I need to do the inside of the phone. So I'm going to go back to my rectangle tool and I'm going to draw another rectangle, and this one I'm going to set to subtract. So it's actually subtracting from the center there. I'm going to go to my direct selection tool, and once again I'm going to drag on these 2 points until they are up at the top edge. Now this phone isn't exactly aligned horizontally and vertically, so you might just need to do the best you can, but it's almost there. Alright, and then the left side, whoops, I did something bad there, let me just escape. So I need that one, and I'm holding shift, and I need that one, and okay, I only need those 2. And when you get that sign, it's actually telling you that you're going to break the properties of this shape. So try and avoid that at the moment. In other words, it's going to no longer be a rectangle, it'll just be a shape. Okay, and then this side. Okay, so we're doing a fairly decent job here. So we're doing edges at a time. Alright, then I'll switch back to my path selection tool and again round the corners. Maybe gone a bit far there. Okay, that's better. Alright, so we're getting there. Next thing is another rectangle, and this one I'm going to draw over here, and I'm going to set that to combine. Okay, and now direct selection tool, and we need to edit these points. So just these points first, and these points next. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a bit here, and then I'm going to take this point and this point and move them like that. Okay, then I'm just going to select, I'm going to go back to path selection tool, and I'm going to uncheck so that my corners don't all change together, and I'm going to change just the bottom two here. Going to go a bit there. Okay, so it's not perfect, but it gives you an idea of how you can deep etch getting very straight, clean lines, and it's totally non-destructive. So in other words, I can turn this, disable this vector mask, everything is still there, so it's totally editable. I can come back and I can even do more editing to this to get it perfect. So now I just want to carry on and finish this little advert. So I took a screen grab of my own phone home screen with just a black background, so I'm going to place that. So File, Place Embedded, Phone Home Screen, and I'm just going to put this in here, just matching it up, and I'm going to hold down Shift so that I can transform this to match into there. Okay. Not quite right. Let me just Command or Control T and Shift. Let's just move that over a little bit there. Okay, and then I'm going to put that underneath the iPhone layer and change the blending mode to screen. Okay, so we're getting there. We've got the beginnings of our advert. So the next thing I want to do, the whole idea with this advert is that the phone is photographing as real as what you're seeing. So the next thing I want to do is put in a reflection of someone as if they're looking at the phone taking the photo. So I'm going to take a photo from a previous exercise, so Place Embedded, and I'm going to go back to activity 391, and there's a model here, and I'm just going to, I'll just take that as it is, and what I want to do is I want to mask this into the phone shape. So I'm going to load a layer mask or a vector mask as a selection. You just hold down Command or Control and click on the little thumbnail for that mask, and it's going to load it as a selection. So you can see here I've loaded that. I want to turn this back into masks, vector shapes. So I'm going to go to my path panel, and I'm going to go down here to this button that says Make Work Path from Selection. Okay, so now it's made a work path, which is what I want. I'm going to go to the Path Selection tool, click away, take the outer path and delete it. So I've just got the inner path. I'm going to select that and go to this button that says Load Path as Selection. That's exactly what I want. So now I can go back to that Model 1 layer and I can add a layer mask, which now masks it into the shape of the phone. I can now change the blending mode to overlay. So I've got that sort of sense that there's someone looking at the phone and taking the photo. And then finally, just to use the pen tool a little bit here. So in the active learning, you will have learned how to use the pen tool. So I'm not going to go through that again with you. I'm just going to use the pen tool to make a shape or a line or a path. So with path on at the top here, I'm going to just make a curvy path that goes like that. And then I want to go to my brush tool, make sure that white is my foreground color, and I want to set the brush size. Well, I need to make a layer for this first, so I'm just going to make a new layer at the top, and I'll just call it brush. And then I want to make the size of this with my square brackets a bit smaller. Yeah, that size is about right. Let me just make it a tiny bit smaller. And then I want it to be hardness 0, so it's a nice soft brush. And then I'm going to go to my paths panel, and I'm going to click on this button that says stroke path with brush. Okay, and that didn't work so well because my opacity is down at 70. I'm going to put my opacity up, do that again. So that's exactly what I wanted. So now in the layers panel, I'm going to duplicate that layer, so Command J, and I'm going to go to the one below, and I'm going to blur it a little bit. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Let's just push that blur up quite a bit. Okay, and I'm just going to play around with some blending modes here. So with the top one, that's the hard one, I'm going to try, okay, overlay looks pretty good. Okay, and I'm going to select both of those layers and Command or Control G to group them, and I'll just call it swash. And what I want is I want it to come on top of the phone here, but then underneath the phone, so it's kind of going through the phone and out the back, sort of like indicating, I suppose, taking a photo. So I'm going to take the phone, which at the moment is at the bottom, and I'm going to duplicate that, so Command or Control J, and put that at the top, above the swash, yeah. Okay, so you can see that, and then I want this part here to be masked, so it looks like it's coming in the top and out the bottom. So with, okay, what did I do there? I need this to go above swash. There, that's it. Okay, so I'm going to add another layer mask to this, and I'm just going to use my paintbrush with black, and I will set it to 100% opacity, and I'm just going to paint here. Oh, sorry, wrong place, undo, paint here. Okay, so what we've done is mask that, so now it looks like that swash is coming in the phone and then through and out the back. I also want the swash to be a little bit softer the further away it gets. So with the swash layer selected, add a layer mask, and I'm going to use black, and I'm going to take my opacity down, and nice big brush, and I'm just going to click a few times here just to make this less evident the further away it gets. In fact, I think I've gone a bit too far there. Okay, so there it is. There's an advert made up of multiple pictures with liberal use of the vector tools, the pen tool, layer masks, vector masks, and so on. So it's a fairly complex project, but if you can follow along with the steps and you can do this yourself, really gives you a lot of good tools that you can use going forward for whatever your projects are. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and see you next time.